I'm Anna.
And I'm Hannah.
And are you ready to be
Black-Splained?
Today we're on the topic of stereotyping and objectification, but first we're going to introduce ourselves. Okay, I'm Anna, and I'm also non-binary and I'm queer. So being black and also a part of that community, of course, was really hard, especially because we didn't have a lot of gay people of color to represent us. I feel like in society, people, they judge me a lot more, and I would get like kind of malicious comments, which is why I wanted to, I guess, be an activist so much. One of like a traumatic experience that I went through that kind of changed me was I was working at my job, and my boss like cornered me in the kitchen and kind of like race-explained me and was telling me like all these invalidating things about like black people and how like black people can be racist too, and white people, they're also like minorities and stuff. And it caused me to reach out to like Hannah and a lot of like people who are involved in things like this, and it definitely changed my perspective on myself and my placement in this world and in society. So that encouraged me to be here and work with Hannah as well.
I'm Hannah. I'm a military brat. Both of my parents are military veterans. My dad served 22 years and my mom served 2 or 3. I say that because a lot of people assume that since I'm very liberal, I hate the government and hate the military. Being a military brat, I never really thought about race that much just because I was always around different kinds of people. I moved to Hawaii, and then after Hawaii I moved to Ohio, and that's when I had a big culture shock because I was going to a school in the suburbs. There weren't a lot of black kids there, and a lot of the white kids there were just like openly ignorant and racist. Some of the teachers were ignorant and racist. The school board, school administration don't do anything about racial bullying. They act like it doesn't happen, or they'll ask you why you let it get to you. I ended up getting suspended from the suburb school district. I'm not going to say where it was. Fuck you, actually, sorry. I was that's what it was. I hate it. There's a Instagram page. You can go on there. It exposes a whole bunch of problems.
I'm going to have to cut that out.
I know. But then I switched to an art school called Cybers School for the Arts, and I love it there. I can't say that?
No, you can say that.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Nothing bad.
Okay.
Promote all the good stuff you want.
Okay. Cybers is amazing, and I love it. And I met Anna, and we weren't friends at first. They did not like me because we're not gonna talk about that this episode. But they're my main bitch. I love them. And I'm glad that they have the same passion that I do because we're able to piggyback off each other. And I'm grateful for main man Joseph that finally got my ADD ass to bring this to life. But let's go ahead and get into it.
So I think we should start on the topic of objectification. It's really big in the black community, especially with women, and I feel like it's so deeply rooted in society that people don't notice it, or they kind of just like pass it by. And I remember the first story that I was taught was about Sarah Baartman, and she had very big like Afrocentric features on her body, I guess, and like her ass. Are we allowed to curse?
Yeah.
Okay. Her ass was like very big, and so was her boobs, and people saw her as like an animal, specifically white people, and they put her in a cage and treated her like a zoo animal. And then when she died, it was like way worse than that. This is a summary, but
right.
When she died, they cut off her assets and then they put it on display in a museum. Oh. And it took so long for them to take it down, and I feel like it was one of those things that was dehumanizing and like makes women feel less of a woman, as I'm sure like it probably shocked the hell out of her mentally. I feel like people still go on with these dehumanizing actions. They still treat women with like big asses and big breasts like animals, and like, you know, they're just there to please people. And it's sadly like a big thing with like men in our community as well.
I want to call out women too, white women that know they used to make fun of black women for their features, but now try to mimic those by getting surgery and photoshopping. People like the Kardashians, literally any famous person. There was like a culture shock where all the Kardashians were extremely skinny because that was what was like pleasing or whatever. Yeah. And at that time period, black women were dehumanized and made to feel less than, which had been happening since slavery. Yeah. So they still continue to deal with that. That's not what I'm saying. It did not end. But what shifted was white women started to want to be like black women. White women wanted to lay their edges and get box braids and get surgery to try to look like black women or try to. I feel that black women are very powerful. Their presence is very powerful, and it's because of all the struggle that has happened through the years, and white women will never be able to mimic that. They'll never be able to carry themselves like a black woman. You can't. It's impossible. Black women carry themselves like no other human on this planet. I truly believe that. And it's crazy how I did not know that happened, Anna. That is that's a crazy story, because now all the white women want to look like that. So she was put in a cage. This one, Sarah Baartman. Sarah Baartman.
Yeah, Baartman.
I don't know where I got Fuller from. Was put in a cage, made fun of, and probably tons of things that we're never gonna know about that were much worse. Who knows if she was dead when they castrated her?
Yeah, exactly.
To think that now that's what is ideal, what white men want their women to look like. It's crazy. Yeah, I'm still in shock from what you told me, honestly.
I think it is really shocking. Like, going off base what you said about like how white women want to look like that. I think it's really crazy how we went from like a society that like tries to normalize skinny women and just like blonde women and stuff like that, to the point where people will like kind of develop like EDs so they can be skinny. Then we somehow like migrate towards like women with big breasts and like big asses. Like, I feel like it's, once again, it's dehumanizing, and it's just one of the many stories about women being objectified. Like, I'm pretty sure Sarah's not the first woman, the first slave to go through that. Like, slaves were literally like raped and
if you were a house slave and a woman, you got raped. And then
you were still treated you were treated like you were disgusting. And what you said about like basically like a cultural appropriation, like the whole laying edges and box braids and stuff like that. I think people
have to straighten our hair if we want to get a job.
Yeah, we have to gentrify
but they can just freely. We got to gentrify ourselves if we want to get anywhere. But they can just freely copy our culture, get braids, even though they don't know where the origin was. The people used to braid their hair because they were escaping slave masters. They would braid patterns into people's hair. You don't get to do that. That's not your history. Stay back,
And people try to. I feel like people aren't considerate.
It's just a hairstyle.
Nah,
man.
Because what society does is when they see like a black person doing this, they're like, "That's ghetto. Like that's really bad."
But white people, it's trendy.
It's like, "Oh my gosh, she made up box braids." It's like, dude.
Stuttering, thinking too fast.
That's why when people say like, "Oh, we're like celebrating this," they see the Confederate flag as like the Southern heritage, but
it was really a 4-year war and you lost. You lost the war. What are you proud of? You lost. Like what? You did not win.
We made that
shit. What are you geeking for? I don't know what you're geeking for. But it's my history. Okay, so if you're telling me if the Browns lose a football game, you are going to take that with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Really? Come on now, dude.
We'll talk about that topic.
Heritage too.
Huh?
Nazi's technically heritage too by that logic.
Right, exactly. And in Germany, it's illegal to have a Nazi flag. In America, it's not illegal to have a Nazi flag or a Confederate flag. And just this year, I think it's Mississippi, are finally changing their state flag from not having a Confederate flag. I might have that state wrong now.
Americans love their rights. As soon as you try to take that shit away, it's like, oh, you're taking away freedom of speech, but why?
Just like you took away the Native Americans' rights when you came over and colonized and raped all the women and spread disease.
Yeah. why isn't like shit like the Ku
Topic for
Klux
another
Klan
day.
and true, all that other shit? I don't understand how it's not like a speech of hate. Like people just think. What I was taught in African American history, what stuck out to me was how stereotypes were kind of
Invented by white people.
yes, definitely, but it was like used in like what do you call them? Greeting cards, thank you cards, or whatever, cartoons.
Everything.
Yeah.
Media in every
Like
sense.
they were at one time, like my teacher said that they were literally in gas stations, like these postcards of like babies, black babies being compared to animals. And it was, it was talking about like how black people can't tame their hair, which is really weird because that's why we kind of made up braids. But anyways, so
And the only reason why we think that black people wearing their hair, or people with coarse hair wearing their hair out, looks unprofessional is because of white people. White people wear their hair out, it doesn't look unprofessional. So if we had never had that mindset, nobody would give a fuck.
Exactly. I always think like, well,
And black people keep their fucking hair done. I'm sorry, but they are the queens at fucking doing hair.
yeah, I mean, it was just, I feel like it was something that society did not, it was like, oh my gosh, that's different, so we need to tame that.
Yeah.
We need to look like us to be professional.
Or if you look at even shows like Disney back in the day.
Yes,
those racist cartoons.
they did those racist
Everything has
cartoons
a
and
racist
everyone
origin.
wants to
Judy
ignore it.
Garland. Judy
Yeah.
Garland did blackface shortly after The Wizard of Oz. She
Yeah.
did blackface. People, oh, she was only 14.
And they had that woman named like Auntie or something.
Right,
and
that-
she
exactly,
had big
exactly.
lips. And
That
like,
was the lovely Miss Asia that just came in. Lovely Miss Asia. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Then they had cartoons of like, the maid that had the big ass and had the rap and like
Which the maid was raising the kids, cooking the food, cleaning. doing all
yeah,
the-
and it was like the big lips and like watermelon and stuff like that. I remember watching one of those
Yeah.
cartoons and it looked like one of those old fashioned like Mickey Mouse
Or oversized
clips.
lips and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
It was
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Didn't Mr. Reisner?
yeah, it's really disgusting how society saw people and like kind of put them into that own box, and it still like bleeds on till today. Like if I'm at work or just not even work, if I'm talking to like a random white person, they're kind of just like, yo, what music you listen to? Like I listen to rap too. Like actually I don't listen to rap, but
Yeah, I like Broadway sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. I've had somebody tell me, I remember in 6th grade, everybody was playing music on the speaker. I was like, can I play music? And this kid was like, we don't want to listen to your ghetto music. I was like, sir, I was going to play Hamilton. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, just random stereotypes. And even in the workplace, like that's a place where someone who is superior, quote unquote, to you is supposed to be professional. That's not when you make an inappropriate racist comment. That should just be common sense. You're the boss. Like I've had managers say like insensitive racist things to me before, and I
Yeah.
can't say shit because they're my boss. But it's like, dude, you're my boss.
nah, fuck that. Sorry.
Yeah, say
I
fuck
would
that.
say I would do like.
I ended up leaving
with
those
this
places.
boss who
But
cornered me in the kitchen, like I let him fucking have it. Like it was just like facts after facts after facts.
and you
then
should.
when
That's
he
what.
couldn't-
That's exactly what you should do.
Yeah, it's
right.
like when he couldn't handle it, like he just tried to say that I was calling him racist just because he's white, which is like really stupid. But
Another stereotype, since we're just on the topic of stereotypes, is students. I know a lot of students that were underestimated simply because they were black. Like
Yes,
teachers will assume the white kids know what they're doing. I had one white kid tell me that he genuinely believed that white people were created smarter than black people. He said black people are better at working and basketball and sports, but white people are better at academic things. I said, the year was like 2016,
Yeah, you just should've
I mean
uppercutted his
17.
uppercut.
I never even like really thought about that. He said that until this year because I'd seen him, and it was somebody that I had been friends with. I remember we got in a lot of arguments, political arguments. That's why we stopped being friends. But yeah, I'm like, and you don't come up with that on your own. Your parents would have had to have been talking about something like that. Like,
And what's crazy is, like, testing is proven. It's, like, proven. So no white person can be like, oh, you just put that out your ass. It's proven to be a tool of systematic racism, like white supremacy.
what?
Testing.
Oh,
Standardized
yeah,
testing It's proven
For sure.
to be, a tool
Because
of
white schools have all the resources and all the fancy equipments, but the black schools don't get that. And then when you're like, oh, they say it's because there's no money. but then they spend $10 million to protect KKK rioters, terrorists. It doesn't make sense.
I think we're going off topic again. So
I think our generation is going to fuck shit up.
burn the fuck.
No, we're not going to burn shit down. We're about to change a lot of stuff, though.
Those
We do not
metaphorically.
condone violence.
Yeah, we do not condone violence.
Yeah, that was
Unless somebody calls
metaphorically.
you the N-word, then you should punch them in the face.
But I was gonna say, like, a stereotype also is, of course, watermelon and like chicken, all that stuff.
No, let's not talk about those. Let's not talk about those.
Why?
Because I feel like it's just like,
People still make jokes about that today.
they do. Never mind,
They're
you're
like
right.
insensitive about it.
Yeah, they do.
So another stereotype is like chicken and watermelon. And it's one of those things that everyone knows. It's a stereotype, but still today people make jokes about it because they just think like, oh, because everyone knows about this little thing, like it's not as sensitive of a topic. And like Hannah said previously, like where, seasoned food came from, and like not necessarily chicken, fried chicken.
Yes, chicken, everything.
I mean,
Those chickens
I
were
was
probably
thinking of
nasty
big
as fuck
chicken.
until they got them slaves, and then they made them
Bland.
actually taste edible. Ew.
Yeah. So
Collard greens. Fuck.
collar.
They made that soul food.
Yeah.
All right. Playing.
With fried chicken, like, I'm sorry, we made that shit because we're kind of the best, but I can't start making jokes. Yeah, I'm done with that topic. I don't know what else to say. Going off of the whole black people feeling like, black people getting the stereotype of starting off from the whole black people getting handouts when they need like government assistance and stuff. Hannah was like earlier, she was talking about like how black people have always been at the top of the list for everything, because everyone should know that white supremacy like runs America. They owned everything. They have higher opportunities for everything. And so you can't do that. It distracts me. Shut the door. So, when they're started off with all these opportunities and stuff, and then they start to give little opportunities to black people, it doesn't really matter, because they're still, when they give like black people properties, when they give people the right to vote, when they give them the right to own businesses and stuff like that, you have to keep in mind that they're still putting the fear factor into black people.
Yep.
They're burning down their buildings. They're burning down their
churches.
stores. Yes, they're forcing them into these communities and then make like these poor communities, and then they put drugs in them and stuff like that. So it's not really like a privilege or anything. And when people talk about having like black colleges, okay, well, why not?
Right.
Like, people need to make these topics
The
like
first
relevant.
black girl to be able to go to school the first black woman that was able to go to school is still alive today.
Yeah.
So fuck you for telling me that you don't think we shouldn't have historically black colleges, because you didn't let my people get education
Exactly.
until like 1960. Otherwise, people had to sneak it, or they would be lynched and hung and threatened.
Yes, exactly. Like, people don't. I think people are they're desensitized to the fact that if a slave was caught learning how to read or write,
They'd get their
like,
fingers cut off.
Yes,
Yeah,
they
they
would
get.
be.
Or if they tried to
killed.
run away, they would get their feet cut off.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think first they would do the ears, and then if they tried again, they would do the feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just sick how.
And they didn't do no numbing or anything. These people got their fucking ears cut off. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, people always seem to think that these things are fake and stuff like that. And I feel like it's just pure ignorance. Like, I think.
yeah. And it wasn't that long
Racist-
ago either.
Yeah.
Don't
like,
get it twisted. It wasn't that long ago.
It's still, I feel like, although the killings aren't stopping, you still have like black people who go to jail for absolutely nothing. So it's still like these prejudiced things happening in today's society. So it's not really that long ago when you have to go outside and like live your life in fear almost. And other races don't. Well, people who aren't people of color don't sympathize or empathize.
Yeah, they
with
just act
that
like it's not
because-
there.
Yeah, because their race isn't going through it when really we're still playing catch up from
Right.
our
Years
like,
of oppression.
ancestors.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's-
I had one white kid tell me, he said, you know why I don't really care about Black Lives Matter and stuff? It was this white kid. I was like, why? And he was like, because it doesn't affect me. So why should I care? And he was being so serious. And I was like, well, at least he's being honest, you know? Like, rather than trying to, you know, make up excuses and stuff, he just openly, ignorantly said, I just don't care. It doesn't affect me. Doesn't. Oh, so you're acknowledging you have white privilege. Okay. But he probably didn't know that at the time, but that's what he was doing. He was acknowledging his white privilege.
I don't think people I feel like today like
You better take that out, Joseph.
People think that them admitting that they're like anti-black in a way, they see it as like, oh, such a bad thing that they can't admit it. But it's like very clear when you're not educated on black topics. Like I lost so many of my white friends this summer because they would come to me and they'd be like, as a black person, like, what do you think about this? And it's like, I learned that like I was a token friend. And I think people think because they live in like more like stivers, when they live around stivers, that place isn't really like prejudice. They think
that's a bunch of white people living in expensive houses by the Oregon district.
Yeah,
that's
they think that
gentrified
it's like,
area.
They think it's like an excuse to not educate themselves. And like I read a quote and it was talking about how it is a privilege to learn about the things that you cannot experience.
Right.
And I use that quote like with so many things because white cis people who are racist, they don't really experience anything like experiencing
or white
oppression.
people that aren't cis, they don't.
Yeah, but like with white cis people, it's like they can't really relate to like LGBTQ things.
That's true. Yeah.
Oppression and stuff like that. So yeah, I think as a society we need to make it better that we normalize topics like this. Like we need to protect our black women, our women of color, because they're being born into a society that doesn't care about them, that dehumanizes them, that objectifies them, but then on top of that they're still going through these stereotypes. They're still going through these stereotypes and like they have these stereotypes attached to them and they're living through life trying to like kind of outrun these stereotypes, so then they aren't truly being themselves,
right?
Because they're scared to be themselves.
They can never be their full authentic self.
Exactly. And I think that we need to make conversations like that more normalized.
And we need to uplift black women more. We need to be telling black women that they're beautiful. We need to be telling black women that they are important and that they are essential, because they are essential. Black women are essential.
Yeah, like
they are the mothers of everyone. And call out your coworkers when people are being racist. Exactly, it doesn't matter if it's your family. It doesn't matter if it's your family member or your friend's boyfriend. Call people out. And if you are a white person and you're dating someone that's ignorant and racist, don't come tell me that you care about black, brown, and indigenous people, because you don't. Because if you're willing to be in a relationship with someone that's ignorant and they have no respect for human rights, then you need to get out of that relationship and you need to uplift your black sisters and maybe learn something from them. I don't know. Take that out. I'm rambling.
Going based off when something that I like to do is, I heard that this, like, it was a black trans woman, she said she likes to check her Goya beans, which Goya beans are like black beans basically, and it's like she tries to check her anti-blackness that she internalized from society. And so I feel like it's also encouraged that people, when they have this internalized hate for themselves, that they should like check that, because you don't want to give into these stereotypes and like alter how you are. Yeah, remind yourself that you're beautiful and you're essential. Yes. Yeah. Same with like white people, like check the internalized like racism that you have about people of color. It's not bad. I feel like it's not bad when you notice that you are prejudiced in some way and you try to check yourself. What's bad is that you ignore it and then you kind of project that onto other people.
And we're talking about like why suburb moms, why you won't let your sons go into Dayton to hang out with their friends, or why you won't bring your kids into Dayton to go to Black-owned businesses, or why you won't call out your neighbor that when you guys have casual conversations says very racist and ignorant things. It's little things like that that really do make a big change and effect in this world, but it takes all of us. It can't just be black people. We need allies, true, real allies, not just allies that show up for the protests and the Instagram pictures and then once everything dies down, because really what it is there's a big shooting every year and then there's a burst of protests and then it fades out.
Yeah.
And this summer it just happened to be longer because there happened to be multiple that we knew about, because there's more than what we know as far as shootings go. There's a lot of shootings that happen. There's tons more than we even know about.
I think that people also don't like to think about it being in Dayton. Like, even though this is a small city, like, a lot of shit happens here. Like, I know that you were a part of, like, a theater for a minute, and it was just, like, they would do these protests of people of color, but they would cast white people.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand how significant that is and how, like, disrespectful it is to the community when they do those things.
Yeah.
Because of the limited opportunities
And
that
then
we do have.
post pictures on the Instagram page trying to act like you're so diverse when you're not. You just have the black kids stand in the front when you take pictures, then put them in the back when you have the show.
Yeah. And
They
also-
cast the people of color as the ensemble, and then the white kids get to do all stuff. Which, another thing, if you, never mind. I can't talk about them. I was about to go in. I was about to expose them, but I can't. So.
What else? I feel like also there's like a lot of discrimination in schools. Like, I feel like teachers are also, like, I wouldn't say victims to ignorance, but they definitely, you would expect them to be more educated and more
Right. That's your job.
gentle with, like, people of color, but they're not. Like, I feel like we need to normalize, like, race trauma in schools and in society in general, because you notice that not a lot of police or, like, teachers or people who have authority know how to talk to black children or people of color who are children. It's like they're more aggressive, such, because we're supposed to be stronger, but that's not the case. Like, remove that stigma and allow us to be humans.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that, like, throughout this
And
podcast,
that's
we've
just
been trying to
the tip of the
focus on.
iceberg as far as that goes. All right, if you live in Dayton, Ohio, and you're interested in black-owned businesses, great place is the Marketplace on 3rd Street, West 3rd Street? West 3rd Street, inside William Street. It's over there somewhere. And then there is a lot of black-owned businesses inside. And then there's food trucks and stuff that come that are black-owned. And they typically have, like, events where black-owned businesses come out. So just look into that. And thanks for listening.